Today I'm being taken in the middle of nowhere, Alaska. When I say nowhere, I mean absolutely nowhere. I'm in the middle of the mountains. I'm blindfolded. I have no idea where I am. And all I'm left with is a backpack, a single bar for nutrition, and my AvTrek mountaineering compass watch. Will I survive? Now that was going to be the video. That was absolutely going to be the video, and I did all of that. In fact, this is going to be the story of how everything fell apart during this video, how I was lost in the middle of nowhere, how my buddy Levi out there had to fly a drone around to try to find me because I was lost, thanks AvTrek, and I have to do it all over again just to see if the compass watch is actually something you can survive with. Let's hop into the story. This is going to be slightly different. What I'm going to do is I am going to show you everything, all the videos, exactly what I was going to do, and then I'm just going to go ahead and talk over, because if something could go wrong, it absolutely went wrong on this day. Now, I say that because I'm in the middle of nowhere. And when I say in the middle of nowhere, I mean we hopped off a trail. I live in Anchorage, Alaska, and we went about 2 hours outside of Anchorage, Alaska, into the Chugach mountain range, and we went off-road in my buddy's Jeep for a couple hours until we were perched on top of a ridge with a beautiful mountain scene in the background. Now, when you see the drone circle around the Jeep right here, you can see we are in the middle of absolutely nowhere. So if something does go wrong, it's going to take us radioing out or finding a cell signal to call someone. Then it's going to take them hours to get out there. And when I say if something goes wrong, everything went wrong. Now, when we first were driving up on the trail, we encountered several large puddles. Now, these large puddles, it was about 17 degrees outside. So the large puddles had ice on top and were water below or mud below. Not everything was completely frozen. It was kind of like that halfway in between where nobody goes off-roading because it's so miserable, and we found that out. Now, my buddy off-roads all the time. He rebuilt the engine of his Jeep. He has all this stuff on his Jeep because he'll go in the middle of nowhere, 400 miles outside of cell phone service, and spend the weekend. That's what he does, so I trusted him to take me in the middle of nowhere. And that's why I had no idea where we were going. I had my hat down, and I'm like, take us wherever you want. That being said, I should have seen the omens coming. Whenever the first big puddle we went across, we ended up ripping the valve stem out of the tire, and he's like, don't worry, I got valve stems in the car, and he didn't. He didn't have any valve stems. Kind of sucked, so we had to change the tire. Thank God he had a spare on the back, because of course he would. Then we kept going. And as we kept going, we reached a bog. Now, this bog is normally in the summertime a mud pit, but right now at 17 degrees, you can see that everything is slightly hard and then everything is slightly soft. And there's nowhere to get around it because no matter where you go, it's soft and hard, and you're going to find soft spots, and then you're going to try to get up on an incline, and then this happens. We got stuck. And this is not a big deal because he has a winch. The closest thing we could find was this tiny stump that, thank God, had enough rooted into the ground that it was able to support the weight of the Jeep being winched out. And then we were on our way again, climbing the mountain, still in the middle of nowhere. And then we finally got to the top. Now, you can see here, as we're coming up the hill, you can see the Peak Mountains in the background. Beautiful. You got the Eska Mountain off to the left. You got Granite Mountain off to the right. I mean, just a beautiful scene. And then we actually made it up to the top of the ridge. And then the video was on. We had pulled up maps, and the goal is for me to walk across this ridgeline. And there was a point at the end of the ridgeline in which I would start my journey, you could say, right? The surviving Alaska. So I walk across there. It's windy. It's 17 degrees out. Maybe on top of the mountain, it's like 10 degrees, but it's very cold. And I can't hear what's going on in the mic. So as I'm walking and filming, the actual audio is completely unusable. Is then take the direction that I need, which is going to be true south minus 5 degrees. So it's going to be about 170 to 175 degrees. I didn't even know until I got home. Completely unusable. Now my phone started out at 100%, and then it went to 70% real quick, and then 60%. So by the time I got to the end of the Ridgeline, which I was using my phone and a GoPro to record, my phone was at 60%. Then on the map, I was given an azimuth, like a declination in which of degree in which I needed to go, because there was a trail that was way off, a couple miles away, that if I went straight, I would find him at the trail. So if it was a couple degrees off, I would have been in the middle of nowhere. Now, I'm not an idiot. I've done land nav in the past, and when I look at the map and it's like, okay, so we're going at a 175 degree angle south, this direction. So I know that on the map, I got, landmarks that I can use and mountains that I can use to help guide me in the general direction. But he's on a small trail in his Jeep, so I could have walked right by him. So that was already, and then we didn't realize until I started going down the mountainside how thick the brush was. By the time I started going down the mountain, it was really difficult for me to have a microphone or my phone because it was so thick. So I ended up putting that stuff in my backpack. So I just had a GoPro clipped to the front of my chest. It kind of pointed slightly down so you could see, because I was going down a very, very hard angle in all this brush. In fact, there were several times I'm sliding down and I have to reach out and like grab a branch to be able to hold myself from continuing to slide down into more thick brush. It was just a nightmare. Then, not just that, but there's still bears out. And already after he left, and I'd walked the ridgeline, which as I was walking the ridgeline, he was supposed to get an awesome drone shot of me walking the ridgeline with all the mountains in the background. Well, I have a DJI Mini 3 and he has a DJI Air, and the Air, he has his remote set up different than mine. So as he's going across, instead of hitting the record with the camera, he hits a photo and snapshots it and doesn't realize and doesn't get any of that. So that's where everything really started to fall apart. So as I'm going through and I got my GoPro camera, I'm taking a couple minute clips because I just do all the editing on my phone on the fly normally because I work a full-time job. So I'm doing small, 3 to 4 minute recordings so that it's easy for me to Bluetooth transfer over to my phone. I don't have to wait forever. So I can clearly see on my GoPro Hero 9 that, yep, it's recording. Okay, it's recording. Let's go through this brush. Spend about 5 minutes tearing through the brush and then turn it off. And I'm like looking around and I'm using my AvTrek compass watch and it's really not giving me anything. What it's doing is I don't know if it was Granite Peak or anything like that, but it wasn't giving me consistent readings. I calibrated it multiple times out there. And as I was filming with my camera, I would come back up and I would talk on my phone. I realized my phone was at like 20%. Okay, so I'm not even putting back on the microphone right now because I'm at like 18% on my phone, which is what I'm using to record this. And I'm kind of starting to get lost and concerned. So I need to focus on actually getting out of here. Does this compass watch work? I don't know if it's going to get me out of here. I'm not really having any faith in it. Sorry, AvTrek, but yeah, my life is starting to depend on it now. And I do have a radio, but I'm stuck. Let me show you everything that's around me. Hold on. See all of this dense bush around me. You can see there's dense trees right here I got to get through. There's a ridge right along the other side. There's a river. What I'm using right now to get out of here, instead of this fucking watch that doesn't seem to be working, is the fact that I know between this peak and that hill over there, somewhere in between, right, is where I kind of need to be, and I'll work through when I get there. So I'm going to use my GoPro just to kind of film as I go, but my phone is almost dead. And I looked around and I'm like, oh man, I don't know where I am. In fact, I don't know where. I know the basic direction I need to go, but my AvTrek compass is not giving me true readings. It's not accurate in the least bit, at least in the situation I'm in. And my phone's about to die. And then I have a radio right here that I hear people doing radio checks in the mountains. as I'm going down. You can hear it click on and off. And then suddenly I don't hear anything, and it doesn't dawn on me that the radio is dead. It's dead. Except it's not, because when I got back to the Jeep, we turned it off, because I did make it back. Clearly, I'm here in the studio. We turned it off and turned it on, and it started working again, even though I was out in the field doing the same stuff, not working. So I'm out there with a non-working radio, a cell phone that's about to die, and I have no idea where I am because my compass watch isn't giving me any good reads. And I didn't take a backup compass out there because I was like, you know what, AvTrek, I'm going to put my life on the line, which was stupid. And then I mentioned bears, right? There were still bears out there, right? I didn't see anything, God, but they haven't gone into hibernation yet. And guess what? Halfway down the hill, after he's already left, I realized I don't have a gun or bear spray. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to die out here and nobody's going to be able to find me. So I start trudging through the bush. I'm out in the middle of nowhere. There's a gully I need to go down, swamp, and everything is sort of like that, frozen but not really frozen. So you're falling through the ice and you're getting wet and cold. And then I'm able to find a Jeep trail. All right, so I found kind of like a slightly established Jeep trail, maybe like a four-wheeler trail, and it kind of leads me in the direction I need. I'm going to follow that for a while because, man, it was tough going through all this freaking brush. I'm not even using my compass anymore. My phone's almost dead. And I got this GoPro here I'm trying to film things on, but really at this point, I'm just trying to make it out. I get a signal and I'm like, Levi, I need you to find me with a drone. I need to find out a direction in which I need to go. And he's having a hard time even finding me with the drone. So I tell him I found this little Jeep trail and I'm going to just walk. It's the general direction that I need to go to be able to get out. Now, thank God I was able to find him. It's funny because I found him not even using the compass. I just was like, okay, I'm going this direction. This trail kind of goes this direction. I followed the trail, and in about 20 minutes, I was able to find him, which, thank goodness. Then getting out. I was already tired. I was hot. Because I was hot and sweaty trying to survive out there, trying to get through all that brush, you're sweating a lot, and it's 10 to 17 degrees. We'll say 10 to 20 degrees. And you know what happens when you sweat a lot? You're hot, but then if you're not found, you'll get cold immediately because everything is wet from sweat, and then the chills will start setting in. So I was hot, and I was just, let's get out of here because I'm going to start getting the chills soon if we don't get out. And we started driving out, and then we came across, because we didn't want to go through the bog again that we got stuck in the first time that we had to winch ourselves out, we went a different direction. And when we went a different direction, the issue, we came across nothing but muddy, frozen puddles that were up to the floor or up to the undercarriage of the Jeep. So it was very difficult to get through. We ended up going out there with boards and trying to get our way out. In fact, there were several times I fell through the ice, almost all the way up to my waistline, and just completely covered in mud. And then because of all that, it took like an hour to get out of that one puddle, and then we came across another one and another one. It was like, it was never ending. And we both were like, oh man, we don't know how this is going to go. But we ended up getting out. I ended up getting sick because like right now I'm battling a sickness. Like something's wrong with my upper respiratory, my throat. And yet we're still going out tomorrow because I want to do my due diligence and give you guys the Survive in Alaska video that we meant to do. Now, because it all fell apart, and not just that, I would have done the video, but then I got back home and my SD card was corrupted in my GoPro. So all the footage from the GoPro was gone. So if everything went wrong, it did go wrong. If everything could go wrong, it did go wrong. So I was left with some footage that you're seeing in this video and me talking, and then no footage from when I put my phone away because it was going to die and I didn't want to die out there. So we have planned it out a little bit better. We're going to a different location where the mountains may not mess with the compass, and we're going to do our due diligence and really bring a great video to you guys. Now we're going tomorrow, so it's going to take me maybe a week to edit it. but I have other stuff coming out in between this video and that video, a couple reviews. So stay tuned to the actual Surviving Alaska. Now, what do you guys think? I'm telling you, there was a point where I was like, I'm going to die out here. And I was starting to freak out, and I was like looking, and I was like, I could hear things in the background. And it was like, oh my God, is a bear going to kill me? Because the biggest fear is not that you see a bear. The biggest fear is that you stumble upon a bear. Because when you stumble upon a bear, you then frighten it, because it's like, oh, you just came across me. Then it'll attack you. As opposed to if it's a black bear and it's off, 300 yards away, it doesn't want to necessarily be around you. But then it's towards the end of the season where they may be hungry because they're trying to hibernate, and they're going to kill everything around them. So it really was. It was hilariously scary out there. Anyway, got a lot of videos coming up in the future. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. It really does help the channel. Hit the like button. It helps that algorithm. Hit that notification bell, because I got a lot of videos coming out, and I'll see you guys in the next one.